Good evening, friends. Tonight we are going to travel back in time, all the way back to the year 1943 on the Eastern Front. We're going to crawl into a small hole in the snow with a German soldier, and we will see how they survived the night when it is 30 or 40 degrees below zero. So before you get comfortable, please leave a like and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy this story. Your support means a lot to me. Before we begin, I would love to see you write your city and the time it is right now in the comments. Now turn down the lights and let the sound of the bell guide you into tonight's story. The darkness is coming. It is taking over the last bit of light on the plains of Eastern Europe. You feel that night is not just falling, but it is crawling slowly and surely from the edge of the sky. The wind is the main character tonight. It is not like the wind back home in the Black Forest of Germany, which smells like pine trees and wet earth. The wind here is different. It is pure. It has nothing in it but cold. It is like a very sharp knife. It cuts across every inch of your face, taking away the little bit of heat you have left. You and a few of your friends are walking step by deep step on the ground. The ground is covered in thin snow, and underneath, the mud is frozen hard as a rock. You are the last few men left in your squad, a very small group. You have been marching all day long, and it has taken away all your energy. The only thing keeping your legs moving now is a simple instinct, like an animal. You need to find a place just to survive this night. This land is too big. It is so big it makes you feel nervous. Everywhere you look, you only see white, up and down, endless white. Sometimes you see black bushes sticking out of the ground. They look like the fingers of a skeleton. There are no villages here. There is no smoke from chimneys. There is only silence and death. You pull your field coat tighter around you. This coat looked very nice in the warehouse in Berlin, but out here it feels as thin as a piece of paper. When the leaders made their big plan, they thought the war would be over before winter came, so they did not send warm clothes for millions of soldiers. This was a huge mistake, and right now you can feel that mistake every time your teeth chatter. You cannot stop your teeth from shaking. A thought comes into your head, a thought that is a little bit mean. You think about the generals looking at their maps. Right now, they are probably sitting by a warm fire, drinking real coffee, talking about what to do tomorrow. Maybe they're toasting a victory, but they will never know what it feels like to be a normal soldier out here on the snow, feeling the cold air burn your lungs. In front of the group, there is a horse lying on the road. It is frozen stiff. It looks like a gray and white statue. It looks strange. Its legs are sticking out in a way that is not natural. Its stomach is empty, hollow and dark. On the snow around it, there is red ice. You have seen this many times before. The army needs horses to carry supplies, to keep the fast war moving. But these horses came from France or Belgium. They cannot handle the cold here on the Eastern Front. Thousands of them fall down on the road and die. They're like signposts of hopelessness. The body of this horse is like a silent message. It tells you that behind the big modern war machines, there is a very old and very weak problem. It makes you and everyone who needs food and supplies feel a little more heavy in your heart. Was it pride, or was it a broken system that caused this? There is no answer to that question, but for you, the answer is right in front of your eyes. It is written in the empty eyes of the dead horse. It is written in your empty stomach, and it is written in your toes, which are so cold you can barely feel them. You do not care about the big reasons. You only know that you are cold, you are hungry, and the night has only just begun. This is the spot. A sergeant named Klaus finally stops walking. He is an old soldier from Bavaria. He has a messy beard, and his eyes are as hard as the frozen ground. His voice is broken by the cold wind, but you know he is giving an order. Dig. There are no extra words. Everyone starts moving like a toy that has been wound up. You take your shovel off your back. It's a folding shovel, made in 1938. The metal handle is freezing cold, even through your gloves. The cold feels like it is going into your bones. You choose a spot on a gentle slope, away from the wind. You take a deep breath and use all your strength to hit the shovel into the ground. Clang! A sharp sound. Your hand hurts from the shock. The ground is harder than you thought. It's not like soil. It's like a block of bad concrete mixed with stones. The first hit only leaves a small white mark on the ground. You say a bad word and lift the shovel again. Hit after hit. Every time you hit the ground, it feels like you are fighting the earth with your own bones. Dig or die. That's what the teachers yelled at the training camp, and it is the truth for every soldier here. A good hole, a foxhole, protects you from the wind, and it protects you from bullets and bombs and even tanks. You know that every drop of sweat you make now buys you one more second of life. The sweat comes out on your forehead, and the cold wind turns it into a layer of ice right away. It makes you shiver. You look at your friend nearby. He is a new soldier. Ust just arrived from the back. He is using a knife to try and break the frozen dirt. He looks nervous and slow. You look at your steel helmet hanging on your waist. A silly idea comes to your mind. Should you use the helmet to dig? Would it be faster? That is what they do in the movies, isn't it? But you stop thinking about that in less than a second. You tried it once in the summer during practice. It made a mess of the inside of the helmet, and it almost bent the metal shape. This heavy steel hat is the only thing protecting your head. Using it to hit the hard ground would be very foolish, unless you have no choice. Nobody does that. A real old soldier trusts his shovel. It is small, but it works. You change your way of working. You stop hitting the ground hard. Instead, you use the sharp point of the shovel like a chisel. You peck at the ground. Little by little, you pry the dirt up. You break the frozen blocks of mud and scoop them out. This work is very boring, and it takes a lot of energy. Every time you breathe, a cloud of white mist comes out of your mouth, and the wind blows it away. The only sounds are the clang, clang of the shovels and the heavy breathing of men. You remember seeing drawings in school of big, complex trenches like underground castles from the last war, but those ideas seem silly now. Out here in this endless wasteland where the cold can crack your bones, Right now, there is no complex plan. There is only the instinct to survive. You are not building a fort. You are just digging a hole the size of a grave and hoping you do not have to stay in it forever. After what feels like 100 years of work, a shallow hole appears. It is just big enough for you to curl up inside. You and the others in your group have finished the hard work. The foxholes are scattered on the slope, like holes made by small animals. But the work is not done. The real shelter is just starting to be built. Sergeant Klaus gives a new order, tent cloth. You take a rolled-up piece of canvas off your backpack. It has a camouflage pattern on it. It is a triangle shape. This is the famous tent cloth. People say it is a great design. It looks like just a waterproof sheet, but it has many buttons and holes on it. When you are marching, you can wear it like a cape to stop the rain. But right now, it will do something more important. You and the 3 soldiers closest to you gather together. You slowly take off your thick gloves, using your red frozen fingers, which can barely feel anything. You start to work with the cold metal buttons. You line up the edges of 4 pieces of cloth and button them together one by one. This is very frustrating. Your stiff fingers make even simple movements very hard. Many times the buttons slip out of your hands, but no one complains. Everyone works in silence and with focus, because you all know only by working together can you turn these pieces of cloth into a home that stops the snow. As the last few buttons are done, a small tent, shaped like a pyramid, appears over your foxhole. You use some folding poles and some branches cut from nearby bushes to hold it up. Then you use ropes and pegs to pin it down to the frozen ground. A simple but very important shelter is finally ready. You lie down on the ground and crawl through the small opening. The space is very tight. 4 men squeezed inside, shoulder to shoulder. But when the canvas walls shut out the wind, a feeling of safety wraps around you. The sound of the wind becomes dull and far away. It does not cut your skin anymore. This little tent, made of 4 pieces, shows how the German army thinks. On one hand, it is smart and can be used for many things, almost like a genius made it. But on the other hand, you can't help but wonder if the supply lines were really so strong. Why didn't they just give you a real winter tent? Why make you play a puzzle game with frozen fingers in the freezing cold? Even though many people praise the equipment, like the machine guns and this tent cloth, other people think it is too complicated. They think trying to be perfect costs too much money and takes too much time. Making things too complex can be a weakness, especially when the enemy makes things that are simple, rough, but work well, and they make many of them. You do not know who is right or who is wrong. You only know that this tent, which you built with your own hands, is your only home tonight. After crawling into the narrow tent, you finally have a chance to rest. You untie the small bag at your waist, the one they call the bread bag, and you start to count the few things you own. This is a ritual you do every single night. You act like a miser, guarding his gold. You begin to check your things. These are the items that connect you to this frozen battlefield, and they are the items that connect you to your past. The German army designed the gear very well. It is very scientific. There are straps in the shape of a Y on your back. They hold everything together. The heavy box of ammunition, the sharp bayonet, The water bottle, the metal tin for food, and the bread bag, which holds your rations and your private things. Everything is organized. Everything is in the right place so you can grab it fast in a fight. But very quickly, the soldiers found a mistake. The designers forgot one important thing. They forgot about human nature. You take the things out of your bread bag, one by one. You place them on your lap. There is a small piece of black bread wrapped in a greasy cloth. There are a few cigarettes, which are wrinkled and bent. There is a spare clip of bullets and a small packet of salt. Then you reach up to your chest and you unclip the metal cylinder hanging there. It is the container for your gas mask. However, since you arrived on the Eastern Front, you have never opened it to take out the mask. In this huge, wide land, the enemy likes to use bombs and bullets. They do not use poison gas. So, this strong, waterproof metal tube, which was made for chemical war, has found a new use, a more important use. It has become a private safe for every soldier. It's a treasure chest used to keep things that are more valuable than life, things that the army did not give you. You open the lid very carefully. A smell comes out. It's a mix of tobacco, old paper, and the smell of home. You pour the contents onto the blanket. There is half a pack of cigarettes. You traded 2 days of candy ration to get them from a supply guy. There is a deck of playing cards. They are very worn out. The corners are soft and fuzzy. Someone has written a name on one of the cards. And then there are the most important things, a few letters from home. You have read them so many times that the edges are torn. And there is a black and white photo. It's turning a little yellow. The photo is of your wife. She is standing under the apple tree at your front door. She is smiling at the camera. The sunlight comes through the leaves and makes patterns on her face. You remember the day you took that picture. She was wearing that dress with the small flowers, the one you liked the best. You use your thumb to gently touch her face on the photo. The feeling of the paper is the only link you have to that warm, peaceful world, a world that smells like apple blossoms. Using the equipment in this creative way is very common. It's like a secret rule among the soldiers. The army gives you a cold iron can and orders you to keep a mask in it for war, but you use it to keep photos of family and letters from your love. You use it to keep your humanity safe, so that when the war is over, you will still remember who you are. In a way, every time you open this iron can, it's a small victory. You are fighting against the army's plan to make you just a nameless soldier. You are stubbornly keeping a small piece of yourself, a place that no one else can touch. You put the photo and the letters back into the can, very carefully. You screw the lid on tight. It feels like you are locking that faraway world safely inside the cold metal tube. Then the hunger comes. It's like a wild animal hiding in your stomach, scratching at you with its claws. You have worked hard all day, and your body is screaming for energy. Tonight, you are too close to the front line. The field kitchen cannot drive up here. It is too dangerous. That means there is no hot soup, there is no stew, there is only the cold emergency food, the food that soldiers have cursed 1,000 times. You reach into the corner of your bread bag and pull out a flat tin can. The edge is a little rusty, and you pull out something wrapped in wax paper.
It is as hard as a brick. This is your dinner tonight. According to the rules, this iron ration has a tin of meat and a package of hard biscuits. The meat in the can is mostly pork fat, mixed with a little bit of ground meat. It has a lot of energy, but the taste is hard to describe. It's not really like meat. It's just a cold, greasy block that tastes a little like meat. You use your bayonet to pry open the lid. It takes some effort. A strong smell of heavy grease fills the small tent immediately. It is not a pleasant smell. And the hard biscuit is truly a weapon. It is so hard, people say you could use it to hammer a nail. You try to bite it with your teeth. Crack! You hear a loud sound, and you feel like your teeth are going to break. So you put it on your knee and use the handle of your knife to smash it carefully. You break it into small pieces. Then you put the pieces in your mouth, one by one. You chew them like you are chewing gravel. You have to wait for your saliva to make them soft. One of your friends, Hans, is chewing his biscuit with difficulty. He mumbles and complains. He says this is called an iron ration because only a blacksmith has a stomach strong enough to digest it. This dinner shows the cold logic of the army. It is designed by science. It is calculated perfectly. It gives you exactly the calories and protein you need to stay alive, but it does not care about the human side. It does not care about taste or texture or dignity. You swallow the last mouthful of greasy meat and biscuit crumbs. It feels heavy in your stomach, like you have swallowed a stone. This meal gives you no pleasure. It only fills the empty space with something cold. It keeps you alive, but that's all. It reminds you again that here you are not a person with favorite foods. You are just a war machine that needs fuel to run. After finishing that cold dinner, the temperature in the tent seems to drop even more. The cold feels like it is alive. It finds every small hole in the canvas.
It comes up from the frozen ground. It greedily steals the little bit of heat you just got from the food. You wrap every piece of clothing you have around your body, but you still cannot stop the chill that comes from deep inside your bones. We need to make a fire, someone whispers in the darkness. The voice sounds hopeful, but also afraid. This idea is like throwing a stone into a quiet pond. The air in the tent suddenly becomes tense. Fire, in this world of ice and snow, means warmth. It means you can melt snow for hot water. It means a little light and hope. But it also means death. A small flame or a thin line of smoke can be seen by the enemy watchers or their night patrols, even from miles away. It is like an invitation, asking the enemy to send bombs or mortar shells right to your spot. The rules at the front are very strict. Lighting a fire without permission is a crime. It can bring severe punishment. Sergeant Klaus is silent. He does not answer right away. He knows the risk better than anyone, but he also sees the faces of his friends, faces that are blue with cold and despair. Go find some fuel, he finally says. His voice is low and firm. Make sure there is no smoke. Be quick and do not make a sound. 2 men crawl out of the tent immediately. They disappear into the night. You stay in the tent. Your heart is beating fast. This decision is a gamble, like so many things here. Is it worth risking your life for a few moments of comfort? No one knows the answer until the very last moment.
A few minutes later, the two men come back. They are holding a bundle of dry, thick plant stalks. You recognize them. They are sunflower stalks. On this huge plain in Ukraine, there are almost no trees. Wood is more precious than gold, so soldiers have to be creative. They use whatever they can find. These giant sunflowers grow tall in the summer. Now that they are dead and dry, their stalks are very hard and they burn well. In some places, soldiers even burn dried cow dung to stay warm. You dig a small hole in the center of the tent with your shovel. You break the sunflower stalks into small pieces and pile them carefully in the hole. Lighting the fire is like a ceremony. One person uses his body to block the tent opening. Another person strikes a match and lights a small piece of paper torn from a letter. He uses the paper to light the dry stalks. The fire catches with a soft popping sound. An orange light instantly fills the tent, lighting up 4 young, tired faces. A wave of warmth begins to spread in the tiny space. It pushes away the suffocating cold. Everyone moves a little closer to the fire, reaching out their hands greedily to feel the warmth they have missed so much. All your attention is on that small dancing flame. It warms your body, and for a moment it lights up the dark, cold wilderness in your heart. You feel that for this moment of warmth, any risk is worth it. Now that you have fire, the first thing to do is make a hot drink. You take the aluminum water bottle from your belt. You unscrew the cap. Inside there is only solid ice. You hold it near the fire, letting the flames lick the metal bottom. Soon the ice begins to melt, making a quiet sizzling sound. When the ice turns to water and steam starts to rise, you take a paper packet from your bread bag. Inside is a dark brown powder. This is your coffee, but it is substitute coffee. Real coffee beans are a luxury. They are for the officers in the rear, or the generals, or the famous pilots. For a normal foot soldier like you, there is only this powder. It is made from roasted barley, acorns, and chicory root, sometimes even beet pulp. It tries to look like real coffee, and it tries to be the same color, but it has no caffeine at all, and the taste is very different from real coffee. You pour the powder into the water bottle. You stir it with the tip of your bayonet. Then you lift it to your lips and take a careful sip. The liquid is hot. It tastes burnt and bitter and earthy like roots. It slides down your throat. It is very hot, and the heat itself is a comfort, but the taste seems to laugh at your poverty. You frown, and you remember the small candies they sometimes give out, peppermint or lemon hard candy. Some soldiers use those candies to hide the smell of alcohol on their breath. Right now, you wish you had one of those candies, just to wash away the bad taste in your mouth. But this hot drink stops you from shivering for a while. You pass the bottle to the soldier next to you. He takes a big gulp, and then, just like you, his face shows a mix of satisfaction and disgust. In this world of black and white, anything with warmth or flavor, even if it is fake, is a luxury to be thankful for. You lean back against your pack, holding the warm bottle. You feel the stiffness leaving your body bit by bit. The sound of the wind outside does not seem so scary anymore. The fake coffee and the small fire change the mood in the tent. The silence is broken. Sergeant Klaus reaches into his gas mask container, the one he uses as a safe. He pulls out a crumpled pack of cigarettes and gives one to each man. This is a true luxury. A match is struck. The orange light shows faces that look a little more relaxed behind the smoke. "Did you hear?" Hans whispers, blowing out a puff of smoke. "This afternoon, the 3rd Battalion got hit by Stalin's organ. Hardly anyone survived." Stalin's organ is the nickname the soldiers give to the Russian rocket launchers because when they fire, they scream like a pipe organ played by a devil. You have a nickname for your own machine gun, too. You call it Hitler's boss saw because it shoots so fast it sounds like a saw tearing through cloth. Giving funny names to killing machines is a way to deal with the fear. In the haze of the smoke, everyone starts to talk, slowly. They talk about girls back home. They talk about the best meal they ever ate before the war. They talk about a stupid officer who made a mistake. These topics are like invisible threads. They connect these men who come from different parts of Germany.
This feeling of connection is something very old. It is like the heartbeat of the army. It has been this way since the old days of Prussia. The army teaches you that the small group is everything. They teach you that you must help the man next to you no matter what happens. In the newspapers and on the radio, they call this a noble brotherhood, something that is bigger than life and bigger than death. And right now, sitting in this cold tent, you can actually feel it. You look at the faces of the men around you. They are just as tired as you are. They are just as afraid as you are, but they are still trying to smile. And when you see that, you feel a warm feeling in your chest. You know that if an enemy comes tonight, these men will stand in front of a bullet for you without thinking twice, just like you would do for them. Your lives are tied together. You share the same fate. You're not just individuals anymore. You are part of a single body. But there is a hard question, a question that feels like a thorn poking into this warm thought. After the war, some wise men named Schills and Janowitz will talk to captured soldiers, and they will come up with a new idea. They will say that the German army did not keep fighting because they believed in the leader or the government. They will say the soldiers fought so hard because of this friendship inside the small groups. They will say you are not fighting for a flag. You are fighting so you do not let your friends down. You are fighting to protect this tiny group of 3 or 4 people. But there is another historian named Omer Bartov who disagrees. He has a different idea, a much darker idea. He points out that here, on the Eastern Front, men die so fast and new men come so often that there is no time to become real friends. A whole squad of soldiers can change completely in just a few weeks. Bartov thinks that what keeps you fighting is not friendship, but the strict rules and the things you were taught to believe deep in your bones. Your eyes look over to the corner of the tent. There is a new recruit sitting there. He is very quiet. You do not even remember his name yet. He arrived only 1 week ago to take the place of Peter. You remember Peter. He was the one who always bragged about how many girlfriends he had back in Hamburg. But now, Peter's face is starting to fade from your memory.
Do you have a bond with this new boy? Maybe you do, but it is a bond made by necessity, a fragile trust that you build because you have to, just to survive. It is not the same as the friendship you had with the boys from your hometown in the training camp. You take a deep drag from your cigarette and you cough. The smoke stings your throat. Do you rely on each other just because there is no other choice? You do not really know the answer. Soon, the cigarette is finished. The tent becomes quiet again. The only sound is the burning of the sunflower stalks in the fire. Everyone is lost in their own thoughts. You move slowly and carefully open your precious gas mask container again. You take out the letters, the ones you have read 100 times. These letters are your only link to the civilized world. The mail system of the army is amazing. It's like a miracle. Even when the fighting is bad, this huge system keeps working, moving billions of letters and packages from Germany all the way to this frozen land and taking your letters back home. For most of the war, this service is free for you and your family, and it is the most important thing for keeping your spirits up. You open one of the letters. It's from your mother. The handwriting is familiar, but it looks a little blurry in the dim light of the fire. You lean closer to the flame, reading one word at a time. The letter is full of small, warm details about daily life. She tells you that the apple tree in the backyard has fruit. She says the harvest will be good this year. She tells you that the neighbor's daughter got married last week, and it was a lively party. She tells you she has knitted a sweater for you, and she has mailed it. She hopes you get it before the weather gets too cold. At the end of the letter, she tells you again and again, take care of your health, eat your meals on time, and do not be a hero. Every word feels like a drop of warm water falling on your frozen heart. But at the same time, you feel a strange distance, a feeling of being very far away. You read about her world, a world of peace and apple blossoms and weddings. And then you look at your world, a world of mud and hunger and fear and death. They feel like two different universes that have nothing to do with each other. You know that what your mother writes is not the whole truth. She does not write about the shortage of food at home. She does not write about the air raid sirens that scream more and more often. She does not write about the coffins covered in flags that are appearing on the streets. And you do the same thing in your letters back to her. You build a fake reality. You tell her you are fine. You tell her you are eating well and sleeping warm. You tell her you get along well with your friends. You even tell funny stories about army life. You would never tell her that you haven't had a hot meal in days. You would never tell her that your toes are turning black from the cold. And you would certainly never tell her that yesterday you saw a friend blown apart by a shell right in front of you. You are both protecting a lie. You do this so you don't worry each other, but also you do it because of the censors. Every letter you send and every letter you get might be opened by an officer. They black out anything that gives away secrets, like where you are. But they also watch your mood. If you sound too sad, or if you say you hate the war, it could bring big trouble for you and your family. So, writing letters becomes a dance where you are wearing chains. You want to talk, but you have to hide your true feelings. You hold the paper near the fire, trying to feel the worry that your mother did not write down. And you imagine her reading your letter, trying to guess the truth behind your simple words. This thin piece of paper carries so much love, but it also carries so much lying. It's your greatest comfort, but it is also a painful reminder. It reminds you that the distance between you and home is not just miles.
It is a gap that words can never cross. Then it is your turn. Sergeant Klaus taps you on the shoulder. You jump a little, waking up from your deep thoughts. It is time for guard duty. You sigh and accept your fate. You start to put on your gear. You pull up the collar of your coat. You tie the strap of your steel helmet tight. You grab your rifle and crawl out of the tent like a clumsy bear. Outside, it is even colder than you thought. A wind full of ice crystals blows right down your neck. It wakes you up instantly. The world is covered in a deep, bottomless darkness. The moon and the stars are hiding behind thick clouds. The only light comes from the snow, a faint, ghostly white glow. You walk to your post. It is by a lonely birch tree, bent by the wind. You lean against the tree trunk, trying to relax your body. Your job for the next 2 hours is to watch and to listen. You must stare into the empty darkness to stop any sneak attacks. Time seems to stretch out. The world shrinks down until it is just you and the endless dark. Your senses become very sharp. The wind rustling the dry grass, the sound of snow sliding off a branch, even the sound of your own heart beating in your chest. Everything sounds loud. Everything sounds dangerous. Every shadow that moves in the wind looks like an enemy soldier crawling on the ground. Staying this alert for a long time is torture for your mind. You have had no sleep. The cold is eating you, and your nerves are tight with fear of the unknown. The doctors call this battle fatigue. You feel your body shaking. You do not know if it is from the cold or from the fear. Your breathing gets fast. You have to try hard to control it, so you do not make too much noise in the quiet air. Suddenly, about 50 meters away to your right, in the bushes, there is a strange sound. It is not the wind. It sounds like something moving. You stop breathing instantly. Your heart jumps into your throat. You take the safety off your rifle. You press the stock against your shoulder. You look through the sights, staring into the dark. Is it a Russian scout? Is it a partisan fighter? Your finger is on the trigger, ready to fire. But just then, 2 green lights appear in the bushes. They look like ghost lights. Then you hear a low growl, full of threat. It is a wolf. You let out a breath of relief, but then you get nervous again. On the eastern front, out here in the wild forests and plains, wolf packs are real, and they are a danger you cannot ignore. Because of the war, the local hunters are gone, and the guns have been taken away, so the number of wolves has grown very large, and they are not afraid of humans anymore. There are stories of soldiers who fell behind, or wounded men left alone being attacked by wolves in the night. The wolf is not your enemy in the war, but it can still kill you. Those green eyes look at you from the dark for a moment. Then, silently, they disappear. But you know it is still there, somewhere you cannot see, watching and waiting. Now you have another enemy. You have to watch for the soldiers in front of you, and you have to watch for the beasts from the wild. Your palms are sweating.
You want to shout to your friends in the tent to tell them there is a wolf, but you are afraid. If you shout, they might think you are scared. They might think you are weak. In this army, where you are supposed to be made of steel, admitting you are afraid takes more courage than fighting. So you stay alone, leaning against the cold birch tree, fighting your silent war against the dark, the cold, the hunger, the tiredness, and the enemies hiding in the shadows, man or beast. The 2 hours of guard duty feel like 2 centuries. Finally, you drag the next unlucky soldier out of his warm sleeping bag, and you crawl back into the tent like a ghost. Your arms and legs are completely frozen. You curl up in your corner. It takes a long time for your body to feel anything again. Just as you are about to close your eyes and enjoy the rest, Hans, who sleeps next to you, nudges you with his elbow. In the dim light of the fire, he winks at you. Then he reaches into his coat and pulls something out. He hands it to you quietly. It is a small piece of chocolate wrapped in tinfoil. You pause. Chocolate in this terrible place is rarer than gold. Usually, only officers or pilots who have won medals get to eat chocolate. You look at Hans, asking him with your eyes. He points to the half-pack of cigarettes you have, the ones you traded for, and he makes a gesture to trade. You understand immediately. Without hesitating, you give him the cigarettes and you take the chocolate. The chocolate has melted a little and hardened again, so it is a strange shape. This kind of small trading is the law of survival here. The official supply lines are broken by the mud and snow, so a secret market has grown in the trenches and foxholes. Soldiers trade everything they have: extra food, cigarettes, watches they found, liquor from home, even bullets. You carefully peel back the foil. You put a small piece of chocolate in your mouth. A strong, sweet, and slightly bitter taste explodes on your tongue. This taste belongs to the civilized world. It has been so long, it almost makes you want to cry. Hans sees how much you are enjoying it, and Hans whispers with a laugh, "Tastes good, right? I heard we took it from Ivan." Ivan is the name for the Soviet soldiers. Hans is joking, of course. This chocolate probably came from an officer's servant, traded for something valuable.
However, on some parts of the line where the fighting is quiet, there are stories of a secret peace. It is said that on some nights the soldiers stop shooting and they throw things across the empty land, across the no man's land. The Germans throw cigarettes and the Russians throw bread. This is strictly forbidden, of course. If the officers catch you, they call it treason. It is not like the famous Christmas truce of 1914. It is not romantic, and it does not happen often. But it does happen, like a small, fragile flower growing in a field of hate. Your trade with Hans, a few cigarettes for a piece of chocolate, is just like that. It is a small part of the big, secret market on the front line. You wrap the rest of the chocolate in the foil very carefully and put it in your pocket, close to your body. This small, sweet treat, which you bought with smoke, will be very precious to you for the next few days. It gives you energy, and it gives you comfort. It makes you feel that even in this world of strict orders and limited food, you still have a choice. You still have a little bit of freedom. And that little bit of freedom makes you feel alive,
more than any speech or flag ever could. Finally, you find a position that is comfortable enough and you try to sleep, but your body feels like an old broken machine. It starts to complain. Your feet feel numb and they itch like thousands of ants are crawling inside them. You struggle to take off your boots. The leather is frozen stiff, hard as iron. When you pull them off, a bad smell fills the air, a mix of sweat and sourness. You take off your socks, and in the dim light of the fire, you look at your feet. The skin is pale and white. They are swollen. They look like cold, wet wax. This is what they call trench foot. It happens when your feet are wet and cold for too long. It is very common here. First, you lose feeling. Then the pain comes. If you do not dry them and keep them warm, the flesh will die, and you might lose your toes or your foot. The doctors always say, keep your feet dry, change your socks often. But here, in the snow and mud, that is an impossible task. You cannot remember the last time you took off your boots. Maybe it was 3 days ago, maybe 5. It is not just your feet. Your mouth is also sick. Your gums are red and swollen, and they bleed if you touch them. Your breath smells terrible, and your tongue feels like it is covered in a gray film. This is another common sickness of the trenches. The doctors have a long, fancy name for it, but you just call it trench mouth. It comes from the stress and the bad food and not being able to brush your teeth. You touch your gums gently and you taste blood. You feel sick to your stomach. These sicknesses are worse than bullets because they are slow and they are humiliating. They make you feel like you are rotting from the inside. Getting shot is one thing, but falling down because your feet are rotting or your mouth is bleeding just makes you feel sad and weak. You suddenly miss the field hospitals. The German medical system is supposed to be the best in the world. They have great doctors and professors. But for you, in this frozen hole, those hospitals feel as far away as the moon. Right now, you are your only doctor. You find a small piece of clean cloth in your kit, and you rub your numb feet, trying to make the blood move again. Then you rinse your mouth with water, trying to wash away the bad taste. You do these things, and you pray. You ask your body to hold on, just for one more day. Do not give up before the war is over. Wrapped in pain and cold, you finally fall into a light sleep. It is not a deep rest, it's just a pause. Strangely, you do not dream of bombs or enemies or blood. You dream that you are back in your hometown. You are sitting at a big table with a clean white tablecloth. In the middle of the table, there is a huge roast pork knuckle, steaming hot with golden skin, and there are piles of yellow potatoes and sauerkraut.
You can smell it. The delicious smell makes your mouth water. You pick up your knife and fork, and you try to cut a big piece of meat, but your hands are weak. You have no strength. The food is right there, right in front of your eyes, but it feels like it is across a deep canyon. You can never touch it. Then the dream changes. You're walking down the street in your town. The people around you, your neighbors and friends, do not see you. You say hello to them, but they walk past you as if you were not there. You feel like a ghost, invisible to the world you know. Then you see your wife. She is standing at the door of your house, wearing your favorite dress with the flowers. You are so happy. You run to her, calling her name, but she just looks at you, quietly. There is no joy in her eyes, only sadness and distance. Then she turns around slowly, walks inside, and closes the door. You wake up suddenly. Your heart is pounding hard. Your forehead is covered in cold sweat. The tent is dark. Only the dying fire gives a faint red glow. You gasp for air. The feeling of being lost and left behind is heavy in your chest. Soldiers here do not get enough sleep, and it hurts the mind. A study of prisoners of war showed that they rarely dream of fighting. Instead, they dream of food and family and being bored. Your dream is the same. It shows your deepest fears, the hunger for food, and the fear that you can never go back to your normal life, the fear that your family is drifting away from you. You sit there in the dark, thinking about the sad dream. You do not know what it means, but it hurts more than a battle. It tells you that even if your body survives this war, your soul might not. Just as you were thinking this, a loud boom shakes the ground. The earth trembles as if a giant has punched it. Everyone in the tent wakes up instantly. It is shelling. You hold your breath and listen. The air smells of sulfur and burnt earth. Luckily, there was no second explosion. It was just a random shot, or maybe the enemy checking their aim. In the fear of that moment, your hand moves by itself into your coat pocket. You hold on tight to a small, hard object. It is a metal badge, worn smooth by your thumb. It is Saint Christopher. Your mother gave it to you when you left home. He is the saint of travelers who protects people on long journeys. When death is so close and so random, almost every soldier becomes superstitious, no matter what they believe. Some keep a Bible in their pocket, hoping it stops a bullet. Some carry a lock of hair from their sweetheart. Some believe they must finish all the food on their plate to stay alive. These little rituals are a way to find order in a chaotic world, to feel a little bit of control. You hold the metal badge tight. The cold metal gives you strength. You whisper a prayer. But then you notice something. You look down at your belt buckle. On the brass metal, it says, "God with us." The shelling has stopped. The danger is gone for now. You let go of the badge. Your hand is sweaty. In that moment of fear, you did not think about the leader or the glory of the nation. The only thing you held on to was that small token from your mother and your own private faith. It is a power that is older and stronger than any army or politics. It might not stop a bomb, but it gives your mind a safe place to hide, a shelter that belongs only to you. Time passes, and a weak gray light begins to come through the cracks in the tent. Dawn has arrived. You and your friends wake up, one by one. No one speaks. The only sound is the rustling of gear being packed. You survived the long, cold night. You are alive. But strangely, you feel no joy. You do not even feel relief. Instead, you feel a huge, empty tiredness. It is not just your body, it's your mind. Doctors say that after too much fighting, a soldier enters a vegetable state. Survival does not feel like winning. It just means you have to face another day of fear. After 30 or 40 days of this, a soldier begins to break down, and you are at that point now. You roll up your sleeping bag mechanically. You hang your water bottle on your belt. You check your rifle to see if it is frozen. Your brain feels like a dead pool of water. The sunrise brings no hope. It only means the suffering begins again. You have to crawl out of this warm little hole and go back into the cold, hostile world. You must march and dig and fight and wait for the night to come again. It is a cycle that never ends. You do not know what will happen today. You do not know when the war will end or how it will end. All you have is this gray, hopeless morning. Sergeant Klaus calls out from outside. His voice is short and loud. Assemble. Move out. The dream is over, but the nightmare of the day has begun. You take a deep breath of the freezing air. You look one last time at the narrow, warm nest that protected you for the night. Then you bend down and crawl out, moving towards the endless gray wasteland.